Number 1, 2, 2, 15. 15.
15 comes after 14.
Hang on. Let me just. Okay, Google says yes. Anyway, I
Last time we
kind.
left off, we
Mm-hmm.
had amnesia plot where
I think
Madlax lost her memories for some reason.
for like 5 seconds. Like, and I guess like Madlax already has amnesia, so it's like double amnesia. So double amnesia happened. I guess what they're implying is that she turned into Margaret for like 2 seconds or something. Just like to further imply this connection between the two of them that will just tease and tease and tease and tease until like the penultimate one when I think it all gets resolved. Other than that, not a lot's been going on, all things considered.
Though
And
I do appreciate the fact that even while an amnesiac, Madlax still remembered her cocktail dress.
yeah, those things are hard to put on. Like fully conscious, I would have a hard time putting that thing on. And I guess also Vanessa is like trying to undercover some big thing because we just realized that her company is like involved with the war, even though I think that was already kind of established. And well, maybe 15 will clear things up for us.
It's just skirting the fine line between intrigue and just confusion.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's a pretty good sum of the show as a whole. The noble potato man.
I wouldn't really describe that as out of control the way she was acting.
Yeah. It was bad best. The cuddling thing was kind of weird though.
She just realized she was drinking coffee or something.
Realized she wasn't drinking wine or Russian water. So we should probably run.
What would you even go back to, Madlax? Boy, does she just seem like she's not looking forward to that question.
Mm.
Just like, oh, fuck.
Oh God. Back from Paris already?
I'm still waiting for the moment where this stops being a completely different series and actually gets integrated into the rest of the story.
Seriously, the frequent flyer miles this one kid must be racking up though. That almost compels me to do something.
Like, we know that Enfant is some kind of. They're involved with, like, computers and technology and the internet, and they're involved
Holy hell,
with.
she's like 1,000 feet tall. Anyway, go on.
Oh, yeah. And they're. Yeah, that's proportions. But they're involved with Gaza Sonica's conflict in some way, but, like, who the fuck is Enfant? Why are they threatening? What do they want? Why do
What
they
is
want
their
it?
and what is
How are
their
they
end
trying to
goal?
get it?
Especially since there really isn't a lot of profit to be gained from starting a civil war that lasts for decades. Like,
We have this. We know who the villain is, but that is literally it.
we know that he insists on making his computer into a Phantom of the Opera Space 2001. Hang on, that's my other line.
It's like they saw Reservoir Dogs, but they're like, we can't just do that.
I've literally been staring at this for 5 minutes. Surely you recognize my voice at least?
And the fact that I called you Ojo Osama, but no, the glasses threw her off.
The barely there glasses.
It's her disguise. These rimless planos.
Like, I won't even call this Clark Kenting. I mean, at least Clark Kent had, like, an actual job that he did.
He's mussed up his hair a little bit.
My super awesome god training ground. This one little sticky note against rocks.
Isn't shooting rocks like the least responsible thing you could possibly do?
Let alone shooting rocks in what appears to be your basement. And a name so big it couldn't even fit on those dog tags. CGI!
That was alright.
Yeah,
It's
there's been worse.
I mean, it still has that issue of like it's running at like double the frame rate of the animation, so it sticks out, but it didn't look bad.
They actually did pretty well with the lighting.
And one of those bullets just ricochets back and catches her in the heart, and that's the end of the series.
Well, I think we've already established that guns don't work in the same plane as reality as they do in our world in this show.
True, they just kind of scare the person being shot to death. They don't actually shoot them.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that they don't hit unless you will it so. I just love how she just pulled two guns out of him. Just like another cut back, and she's got three, one's in her mouth.
All right, so here's my problem from just a strict storytelling perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that Madlax is telling us, we already knew.
Yeah.
But it's like they didn't sit us down and explicitly narrative dump on us this her backstory, but they gave enough hints in the flashbacks, just like those brief ones, that we are able to surmise what Madlax's backstory is. But it's like they didn't trust us to get that, so they had to make sure that they, sat us down and had Madlax tell us, exactly what happened, just in case there was any confusion.
Not to mention, it just kind of poses a repetition problem. And essentially, we do kind of get the backstory of all of the characters, but just over and over and over again. So it's one of those things that they could either just choose not to just have us sit down and exposition it, or they just kind of stick with the repetition of it. And it feels like it's one of those things that's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because it's at some points like, yeah, we get it.
But that screen time that could have been used in service of giving Madlax more of a character instead, because this series thus far at least seems to be making the cardinal mistake of backstory isn't character.
Mm.
The backstory informs the character, it's the starting point, but a character is what happens.
Action, not just.
Yeah, it's actions, what happens in the immediate story. It's not, how they got to the starting point.
It's like we've gotten something of like an interesting characterization because while they haven't sat down and told us, they have just kind of had a leaning that Madlax is just kind of inhuman in all senses of the word, and that she's really kind of not sitting back or taking any sort of really thought about what she's doing with herself. And the backstory made she pretty much was just found with a gun in her hands. Is like, all right, I'll just make this my career for the next decade or so with no thought. And especially ever since she met Vanessa, she's just kind of had some mild characterization of just trying to see what else is going on and what it means to actually be invested in something classic, and is just kind of dealing with that. But that still could be elaborated on a bit further than what they're doing. And it's all just kind of more implication and stuff that you're digging for rather than anything really explicit.
And not every character needs to be super deep.
Hmm.
There's plenty of media that gets by on plot. Um, Attack on Titan's not a terribly deep story, but it gets by
Hmm.
on its plot, on the moment to moment action and plot, even though the
Hmm.
characters are pretty bare bones and shallow. But
Hmm.
that's fine. That's not what it's trying to be. This is trying to be both, and is ending up as being neither so far.
It's like it's one of those things that in order to kind of have like a psychological thriller, you kind of have to have like a character psychology to really build off of. And I feel like just by the way that they're framing it and the choices that they're making, that's kind of more what they're trying to do. But as you said, they're kind of getting a have their cake and eat it too syndrome very badly. Especially since for being a girls with guns, people don't bring it up a lot, but there really hasn't been a lot of action, all things considered, in this show.
There really
Like,
hasn't. It's been like once every 3 episodes or so, they'll have an action scene, and that'll be it. I'm pretty sure there was more action in the one episode of Noir that I watched than this. Okay, if she gets you brainwiped again, they have no one to blame but themselves for it at this point.
mm, mm. I'm really surprised how much of this show is just using a computer to a crazy soundtrack. Like, I think we've had more computer antics to a mad soundtrack than actual gun antics to a mad soundtrack.
Well, at least she's not screaming.
Mm. Brought your knitting, milady. Why did I do this?
Why did I leave my computer open with the evil files on the homepage?
Why didn't I at least zip drive it?
Should have buried it right next to the folder that says definitely not porn.
I'm Shelby. Nice that light's still working.
So did she just get kidnapped by like the old gods?
We can only hope at this point. Well, this show has a habit of saving its episode in the last 5 minutes, so let's see if they do it again.
I,
How can this chick outrun me? My legs are as tall as she is.
it's all that child energy.
Maybe that doll's got a rocket. Plus, it looks like she's got the Scooby-Doo doors working to her favor. Old gods can do that.
She's like the idols in Macross that have the rock-propelled skirts.
Oh man, I really gotta finish that show.
You really should.
No, 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 we're doing it again. We're just thinking about other shows we could be watching.
So I've had this discussion before with other people. Um, it was specifically related to Beauty and the Beast, the Disney version. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if a parent dies off screen before the story even starts, that's not sad or emotionally compelling.
Mm.
We don't know who Madlax's dad is, like, at all.
Like,
So
there are times when it can be pulled off, but we usually kind of need it when we actually have a really strong sense that the character still has a presence in this person's life. And that's just already shot in the leg because Madlax has amnesia. She doesn't even know who her dead dad is, so why do we or her or anyone else care?
yeah, like, why does her dad matter other than it's just part of her past that she doesn't know?
God, the
Those,
static is mad here.
yeah, those hair strands look real silly.
Yeah, this was not a good animation choice.
That scene would be a lot better without them because they were just very distracting.
Mm. It's like it looks like they're their feelers, like those little string things in Nazca.
That's a much more sane way to put it. Yes.
Mm. Man, it helps for pacing when we just like say the same line 3 times in a row.
This would be a super interesting scene though if it came 10 episodes ago
Mm.
and was used to set up Madlax throughout the series.
We really needed that whole scene a lot sooner.